Hey everyone, it is Keeping Real. I'm Nikki Shelton and I'm with Carrie Selby. Carrie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good despite this crazy gloomy weather outside.
I know, and it's supposed to be kind of windy, or was that yesterday? I'm so lost in my days. It just seems like it's been windy and blustery and your typical whatever envisions the Pacific Northwest weather is like.
Exactly.
So you guys, we're going to have a fun talk today. We're talking about closing costs, but before we do that, I get asked a lot of times, like when you put in an offer, you usually put in some form of earnest money. And earnest money, it's usually held by a third party, which is your escrow, your title escrow company. And a lot of people ask, well, what happens with that money? I mean, like you put it in there and then, does it go to the other side? Do I get to keep it? Do I get it back? Does it really, usually what happens is it goes to closing costs. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about closing costs and ready to get into it. Ready?
Yes, I am. I just love it.
All right. So what are closing costs? You want to give us a quick definition, or do you want me to try to do that?
Yeah, it's the final step in your loan because you've gone through all of the process, done the underwriting, all the conditions are satisfied, and the underwriter says we are clear to close. So then our closer with the mortgage company then works in concert with escrow and title to see all of the figures that were listed out on your initial loan estimate, and they finalize all the fees. They balance with one another. They take away things that weren't needed, and then they make sure that all the numbers are accurate. And then at that point, they will issue your final closing disclosure. So we're going to go over a little bit of that in more detail in the next couple of slides.
Yeah, because I think everybody wants to know, what are these closing costs? Are they these hidden fees? Are they, but usually you know about them well in advance, right?
Yes, you do. Yes.
And if not, you should be finding out about them.
Well, I tell everybody when I meet with them, everybody wants their piece of the pie. So your closing costs are basically paying for the services of the people that work during the transaction. So title, escrow, so there's buyer's closing costs and seller's closing costs. The seller covers generally, I mean, this has been a topic we've been covering, but both real estate agents, sometimes just now the seller's agent, but it also covers a lot of other things, which will be on the next slide. But it's a lot of the services, appraisals, different things like that are what they'll cover.
Right. So you've got buyers usually pay their side and sellers usually pay their side. Sometimes in negotiation, the seller might pay some of the buyers, but both sides are equally responsible for their own side unless something else is written up in that contract. All right. But yes, everybody wants a piece of this. So usually when I look at an estimated settlement statement or the final settlement statement at the end, it's kind of broken up into categories. And so the first part of it is what you probably know the best, which is the loan part. So there's cost to do the loan, not the down payment. That's different and separate. But this is the cost of, like, credit reports, I know is one. What are some other ones, Carrie?
Well, we have our initial origination fee that pays for all of the people that work on the file on our end as well, our underwriters, processors, who are my production partner, all of those people. But yeah, there are points that you could use to get the rate lower. So that's another thing that could be in there. But one of the main parts where a lot of the expense really comes is when it comes to your prepaid items. And so there's prepaid upfront. We're paying for a year's worth of homeowners insurance. And we're also setting up an escrow account to pay out those property taxes and homeowners insurance throughout the year. So depending on the month you close, we're going to collect a few months worth of property taxes and homeowners insurance.
Right. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, like, on the estimate or the final settlement statement, it's like you got your loans and it's like the origination fee, it's underwriting fees, it's credit reports, it's I'm trying to remember.
Flood report. They have to run a flood report.
Yes. And appraisals is on there. And
Yes.
then the part is kind of like an escrow account. And then that's like your recording fees. So when the escrow company has to go down to the county and file or record the documents that are being done, there's a fee for that. There's the title and the title, I forgot what it's called anyway, but it's for the title.
Title insurance.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
So and there's like different parts are specifically rated or related to that. And then towards the end though, then you have your taxes, anything that's prorated, and utilities and that kind of stuff. So those are kind of the closing costs that, I mean, like kind of broken down into like three different sections, I guess is how I look at it. I think that I kind of take them in terms of three. So it's just,
Yeah, because there are a few different buckets that those monies are put into, and people always want to know a dollar amount. Well, guess what? It's really going to depend on the price of the home that you're purchasing. You know, your closing costs could be more because you're putting 20% down on the loan. So you're using that, bringing that 20% in at the end. So I just tell people for general closing costs, not including your down payment, you're going to want to budget between 2.5% and 3% of what the sales price of the home is going to be.
yep. And that's usually what I,
high, but it's a good estimate.
yeah, it is. And I always tell them, you know what, I'd rather go with the 3%. I know that a lot of times you can get it for 2% or 2.5%, not 2%, but 2.5%, maybe even a little bit lower sometimes. But I mean, I always say, like, you know what, if it's a bonus thing, that's even better, because you know you get some money, you know, I mean, like you get your earnest money back or whatever possibly. So,
Right.
and you get your earnest money back if you had the seller pay for some of your closing costs. So it just kind of depends.
And I tell people, like you were saying, that as earnest money, I couldn't think of what I wanted to say for a second. The earnest money is a deposit on your closing costs. I always tell people, when you're looking at an apartment, you need to put a security deposit down to show that you are interested in this apartment, you want to be there. So they're going to hold on to some of your money. Same thing, we are dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just encourage people to speak with their real estate agent on how much they should put down, because in some circumstances you could potentially lose your earnest money. So just keep that in mind when you're factoring in how much you want to put down up front.
Absolutely. Okay. What else? Tell me more.
Well, you know, we kind of covered at the beginning that at the final stage of things, we're going to balance with escrow, and you'll get a final closing disclosure, which will give you all of the fees. And when you go to closing, you're going to have all of these documents that you're going to sign. Escrow is going to communicate with you ahead of time to arrange whether you want to have a wire, bring in a cashier's check, and they're going to give you the exact amount that you need to bring in for your closing costs. Also, just a reminder to bring a photo ID when you go in. People might forget that, but it's important to verify who you are as a person, that the right person is signing the documents for this home.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So yes, closing costs, I mean, they kind of sound like they're scary, but it really does. It's just the extra fees that are, you know, like I said, like you said, to kind of to pay for some of the lenders, the people that they are having work for their files and stuff like that, for the escrow, for the insurance part of it, for taxes, which, you know, unfortunately it's a part of life. So yeah,
it is. And then there's daily interest. So depending on the day of the month that you close, if you close at the beginning of the month, you're going to pay more daily interest because there's more days left in the month. If you,
right.
you know, tend to close more towards the end of the month, your daily interest will of course be less. But the great thing is, once everything has been done, the wire has been received or the cashier's check has been received at escrow, and the documents are then recorded with the county, that's when you get the keys. That's the fun part.
That's the fun part. And it's worth it. It is so worth it.
Yes.
Okay, you guys, that's all I have for you today. Kara, do you have anything else to add to this? I think we covered pretty much everything on closing costs.
We did.
All right.
Yeah.
You guys, thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next week, same time, same place. And thank you so much.